Damn, Ingenious made the beat? Yo, welcome to another episode of the Coach Life Podcast Radio. I'm, of course, your host, the Prince of Positivity, Coach Steve. Joined with me, as always, my co-pilot, Coach Luna. How we doing, brother?
Bless, man. I want to come up with a different word today that I ain't used before. Blissful.
Blissful. That's a good one.
Blissful.
What changes the perspective on blissful today?
Early dime. He
Just
needed some more change.
peace.
Right?
At a very high state of constant peace, bro.
Man, I love it. I love it. CEO, founder of the Coach Life Podcast and brand about building your brand. Coach Wash, how we doing, bro?
Bless. I ain't got another word today like Lona.
I was gonna say, man, you ain't cracked the dictionary, bro.
Hey, you know what? He gonna open me up to it. My therapist would appreciate it too. I should be doing better. He just reminded me. That was God right there.
There you go. See, I cheat and I use a vocabulary app. So it just
you
sends me
over
a
there
new
with a
word.
thesaurus.
It sends me a new word all the
Out
time.
of here, man.
Listen, bro,
code.
it
You
helps.
acting like the kids on
It
the
helps.
phone. Google
It helps. It helps. Can't hate on it.
Words similar to.
As always, we have a very special one for you guys right now. Again, most of our podcasts, when we bring somebody on, they usually have a very, very compelling story. And this is definitely no different. We talked about underdogs a long time ago. You've all heard the word underdog, right? Um, this is going to be no different, and we're going to kind of dive deep into the meaning of underdog and some of the qualities and characteristics it takes to continue to push through and be resilient, have that grit, and then proving doubters wrong. Proving doubters wrong. Again, this is a special one for me personally. More special for Luna, but special for me because at one point in time, this individual rocked the Navy and orange at one point in time as a former Chicago Bear. So just throwing that out there right now. Yeah, we trash. You can throw it in the comments right now. Yeah, we understand that the Bears are trash right now. I get it. But yet and still, diehard fan. Again, um, not even gonna waste any time right now. Current red black for the CFL right now just signed his re-signed with the team just 2 weeks ago. Wide receiver slash running back slash utility player slash Mr. Can Do It All, Mr. Bralon Addison. How are we doing, sir?
Fellas, what's up, man? Happy New Year to y'all, man. Appreciate y'all having me.
Happy New Year, brother. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. This is going to be a really good conversation. Very, very good conversation, especially for our hardcore football fans that are out there right now. So you get a chance to talk about football in a lot of different areas because you have played a lot of it, good sir. A lot of it.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm excited. I tune into the pod all the time. Luna, my brother, we go way back since I was, just a youngin', and I was watching him, watching my other homeboys that watching them, learn how to do it the right way. And it's kind of like how really I got started as far as like making a name for myself is just watching Luna and my other friends that was, playing in front of me and playing at a higher level than I was. But, I'm excited. Like I said, I tune into the pod all the time. I'm excited to be on here today. I'm excited to see what y'all doing and, spreading the information, spreading positivity, even for the younger generation to see the things y'all doing. I'm excited to join.
Man, this is gonna be huge. This is gonna be huge for everybody right now. Before we jump into your story going through, high school, college, and into your professional career, let's do a quick little icebreaker round for those who don't know as much about you as they should.
Yeah.
Again, look the guy up. Stats are insane. That being said, I'm gonna throw 5 quick questions at you, Braylon. You tell
Okay.
me, give us your quick answer on all of these particular topics. Don't have to go into a whole lot of detail, but if you like to, go right ahead. Floor is yours, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, Before we get started, let's go into the first question. Who is your favorite football player of all time?
Of all time, I gotta pick two people. So kind of who I like model my game after. When I was younger, I played running back. So for those who didn't know, I didn't start off playing receiver. And for people who know me from high school, I didn't start off playing quarterback. I was a running back first. And my favorite player ever was Reggie Bush at the time when I was a young kid watching Reggie. But I was a huge Vince Young fan, so that's kind of how I got like into Reggie Bush because they was racing for the Heisman that year,
Hmm.
Vince Young last year, and then obviously they played each other in the Rose Bowl. But Reggie Bush was my favorite player at the time. And then a couple years later, Percy Harvin came on the scene. So I just, I really like both of them because I feel like they were versatile players. Reggie was a running back, Percy was a running back, but you saw him get at receiver, you saw him catching touchdown passes, you saw him returning. They would put the ball in Reggie's hands and let him throw it sometimes. So when I was a kid, that's all I wanted to do was watch Reggie Bush and Percy Harvin and see how they was elite at every single position on the football field. That's what I wanted to be able to play offense, defense. Um, you know, some people know this, some people don't. I kicked the field goal in middle school. So I was just trying to do as much stuff on the football field as I could because I saw Reggie Bush and Percy Harvin doing it.
That's dope, man. Again, we just started off the intro with just Mr. Utility. That's
Yeah.
essentially what your nickname should be, man. Because you
Call him
literally
Slash.
run every right, like every position. You have literally have been able to capitalize in every position that you've been thrown into. So
True.
it's funny that you picked individuals that literally are utility players in every team that they've played for. Yes, we know them for the positions that they were in, but man, not just massively dynamic in other areas.
True.
Biggest inspiration growing up.
Biggest inspiration. I would have to say, number one was probably my grandmother. Just watching how she like kept the family together, even though like my mom and dad was never married, but they was two young kids that was trying to find their way. My mom had me when she was 19 going on 20. My dad was 20 going on 21. Well, my dad just had turned 21 and my mom was turning 20. So, they were young, trying to figure out their way, running the streets, doing them type of things. And like my grandma was always that sense of home for me. Like
Mm.
I could move here. I lived in Alief at a time. I lived in Katy at a time. I lived in Fort Bend at a time. I don't like my between my mom and dad, they lived in multiple places. But the one person that was always constant, I think just probably last week, my grandmother sold her house in Missouri City. She lived there since I was born. I'm 31 now, and she was still there to this day. And even just last year, and I turned 30 last year. I just had to change my mailing address. Like my mail still went to her house to this day in 2024. You know what I mean? So I just think her stability and always to be in that one spot, and everybody was always coming to her for meals. Everybody was always coming to her to be grounded and just have a safe space. I think she was probably my biggest overall inspiration. When it comes to football, I would have to say my dad. I was watching him. He was a Cowboys fan when I was a kid, so I remember being like 3, 4, 5 years old in the '90s, and every Thanksgiving I'm watching him scream at the TV, Emmitt Smith running. I watched Emmitt Smith break the record when I was a kid. So that was probably where football, like the love for football came from, is like seeing how hyped my dad was, like being in front of the TV watching Emmitt Smith do his thing. And my
Mhm.
first football number, I was a running back, was number 22. So I was trying to be like Emmitt Smith. So I would say my overall inspiration was my grandmother, but then my football inspiration was my dad.
Now you've done a lot of traveling, a lot of
Mhm.
traveling. You've been to a lot of different places. Currently, right now, we're in Canada right now, currently, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So tell us the best place that you have ever visited.
When we say visit, are we counting like I lived there for a point in
Hey,
time, or
you
just
you
straight
you
visiting?
could live there. You could have just been there for a weekend trip or whatever the
Okay.
case may be. You have traveled the globe a little bit, so enlighten us for those who have not been as well versed in travel.
I'll give two. I think the best place I ever lived in, minus Houston, because I think Houston is the best city in the world. Minus Houston. I'm gonna say Chicago when I played for the Bears. I think Chicago was like, the stuff we hear about Chicago, the crime, all those things, and then like, knowing the history behind the Bears, knowing the history behind the Bulls, the White Sox, and the Cubs, like just living in that city from the time when I played for the Bears, it was like what I thought about the city was totally different. Obviously, I wasn't in the hood.
Mhm.
You know, they keep
Mhm.
the NFL players, they keep them out the hood. But like just being in the city and like so much history, even like being downtown, like you know the mom and pop pizza shops, like the mom and pop hot dog stands and stuff like that. It's just being from Houston and being from a city where people really proud. And then like you know Houston, we got history, but we have history that's so much bigger than just sports or so much bigger than just music. But then being in Chicago, seeing how they love their teams, and you know, like I played for the Bears, like you said, we was bad. Seeing how many people really truly love the Bears and people who really truly love the Bulls through all the years of just not being good, not being competitive. I think just you know seeing that and seeing how proud they are to be from Chicago, that was really dope to see. And then I would have to say like probably vacation wise, I would say Turks and Caicos for sure. Like on the beach, like I
Best
think what made me
beaches.
love it so much is being on the island, like riding around the island, you see like the poverty and you see
Mm.
like how much the struggle and every day it is for them to, you know, live the American way and the things they try to do, you know, and it's just like it put things in perspective of how blessed we are, you know what I mean? Like it's like, dang, like I'm here on another island and, you know, I could go to Ruth Chris around the corner, or I can go to a movie theater around the corner, or I can go to a arcade around the corner and just have fun. And versus like all they fun is organic. Like you got to get out there and fish, you got to get out there and swim, you got to get out there and you know do beach activities, or you know you got to actually live life and not just have something where you go spend some money and enjoy yourself and then you go back home. Like you really got to live
Right.
a different quality of life out there. And it just put things in perspective and made me, you know, not take so much things for granted. And then obviously, like when you go out on the water, it's like the most beautiful thing you ever seen. So I would say vacation wise, probably touching Caicos for sure.
It's on the bucket list, bro. That's definitely on
Yeah.
the bucket list.
No, you gotta, if you don't do nothing else, you gotta go there.
Definitely on the bucket list. That and Fiji. That's definitely on the bucket list right now. I mean, C. Lunar already wrote that down.
Feel me? And Turks, you go to what's that, Jack Shack?
Yep. I went to the Shack Shack. They had the Conch Shack.
Yeah.
What else did I go to at church? They had that was like a staple. I can't remember really everything, but I just remember I was on like Sapodilla Bay Beach all like the whole time, like just hitting the restaurants and then going right to the beach. That's all I was doing.
So you said food because you talked about Houston. I know Houston got some bomb food down there.
Hmm.
Definitely got some bomb food down there.
Hmm.
I can't wait to make my trip down there soon. Um, you obviously been in Chicago.
Hmm.
It's the food capital of the United States. I don't care what
For
anybody
sure.
says.
They
Fight
got
me in
some
the
good
comments
food.
if you want to.
Yeah, they got
Uh,
some good food.
what would you say is your favorite food?
Favorite food? Ooh, I would have to say favorite food if I could choose, because it would be something I would have like, you know, you always ask the question like if you had to eat one food for the rest of your life.
Hmm.
That's how I'm gonna choose my favorite food. I would have to say chicken wings. So I feel like you can throw multiple flavors, like you can fry them, you can grill them. Um,
You
uh,
like
got
AJ,
so many,
dog.
you know what I'm saying? You got so many flavors. Like it's hard because you know pizza is pizza. You got pepperoni. You got pizza. You do got a lot of flavors of pizza too. You got a lot of different toppings.
But
But I
it's
just feel
still
like
pizza, right? It's
yeah, you know, wings, you could do so much to make it taste so different all the time. So I think I had to choose wings. Like if I just had to choose my favorite food, I would have to choose wings.
you just literally just hit Coach Wash's hot button right there because this the Wing King right here, bro.
The
Oh,
wing
The
king.
Wing King over here,
What's
man.
your favorite what's your favorite wing spot in the world, Coach Wash? In the world.
my kitchen.
I knew he was gonna say that. I knew he was gonna say that. It's
That sounds like a
always the
Luna
kitchen,
answer,
bro.
man.
Hey, look. Steve said what he said for a reason. Look,
Yeah.
it ain't just me. It ain't
It ain't.
self-proclaimed.
It's not,
Okay.
bro. It's
Okay.
not. The
I
man,
might
the
I
man
might
knows
have to
how
be
to
the
make wings,
judge.
bro.
Hey, backyard, air fried, fried,
Okay.
baked,
Yeah.
any way you want it. Yeah.
Okay. He calls
My
you the
man
wing
grills,
king.
bro. The Wing
Yeah,
King.
I said every which way, bro.
All right.
Every
All right. All
which
right.
way.
Love it.
You give me some rocks and some sticks, I'll build a fire and cook some fire ring wings. I don't need a grill.
Okay.
Just give me the chicken. Just give me
Yeah.
the
Okay.
chicken. It could
All right.
still be alive. I promise you. When we done, yeah.
It's
Okay.
time to feast, bro. Time to
Yeah.
feast.
Okay.
I ain't tell you how many times I've walked over or came over to this dude's house and he's got a massive grill full of chicken wings, and every single section of the grill is a different type of wing.
Different way. Yeah.
So yes,
However you want
Wing
it.
King
The Wing King.
On
Okay.
vacation.
on vacation, on tape.
On tape.
Okay.
Airbnb. And
Wing
maybe
King.
check that. Does the house have a grill?
There it is, man.
All
There it
right.
is. Braylon, let's get into the mindset of the underdog mantra.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into that mindset. Um, your mantra, again, that says one, it says a lot about your journey.
Mm-hmm.
What does underdog mean to you when you hear the word underdog? We usually try to break down the definition right now. And I know Luna always gives us a really awesome definition, and I always push Coach Wash to kind of follow that up, throw a couple tidbits on there. Tell us, Braylon, what you see as the true definition of underdog.
Man, it's funny because like, when I kind of first came up with I don't want to say came up, I didn't come up with that, but when I first started using it to explain myself, um, I was doing my thing in college. Like I had just went all Pac-12, and a lot of people would say that's not an underdog, but the thing that kind of resonated with me and made me feel like I was is because I feel like if I had to give it a definition, I would say it's the relentless pursuit of greatness because I feel like if you even look at LeBron James, he gotta feel like he's an underdog some type of way. Like I feel like if you look at Michael Jordan, he three-peated twice. Some people say, what if them 2 years the 1 year he took off and then the year and a half where he wasn't there? What about them 2 years? I just feel like the underdog situation or mentality doesn't really have to be like, oh, I was a no-star recruit and I worked my way up, or you could be a five-star recruit at one point and you get hurt. Now you got to work your way back up. So I think it was just like that relentless pursuit of not being satisfied for me that made me feel like, okay, like I'm an underdog because I was in college. I just talked about getting injured. I would just had went second team Pac-12. I got hurt and they forgot about me. Like they act like they didn't know who I was anymore. Like I had to go do it all over again. So I just think it was just about not ever being satisfied, not ever quitting. I feel like, I talked about some people not having stars in high school or whatever, and then you see them make it to the pros, make it to the NFL or, some other type of professional league. And it's just that relentless pursuit because, once you quit, you're dead. You know what I mean? I don't want to use the
Hmm.
term dead, but once you quit, you're dead. And that's why I feel like the underdog term can mean somebody who feel like it at the top, like a LeBron James, or it could feel like somebody who's at the bottom and you just never stop. You just relentlessly pursuing greatness. I just feel like it's that relentless pursuit of greatness.
I love that answer. And I know you kind of already alluded to grandma and your dad as being kind of the anchors for a lot of that.
Hmm.
Um, Throughout your career, you've been overlooked
Hmm.
countless times, right?
Yeah.
But you've never let those situations stop you from again pursuing greatness, like you said. Where does that relentlessness come from?
Honestly, it was from my dad, and so it's funny. Like I didn't learn the term underdog until I was older, but like even as a kid, like me and my dad could just be in the neighborhood playing football or throwing the football around, and like I could run six fly routes and I'd catch five of them, and one I drop. He's like, "Oh man, you don't want to catch the ball. I'm going inside. Like if you're gonna be dropping the ball, I'm going inside." So my dad was always tough on me. So I feel like that's where my competitive nature came from, was from my pops. Just he never made me feel like, oh, I made it. Like, he never let me feel like I'm the stuff, like I did it, or like I've arrived. Like he never let me
Mm,
get satisfied. He never made me like if I had a game where I scored two touchdowns, he was like, man, it was two plays where you went out of bounds, so you let this dude tackle you one-on-one. You could have had four touchdowns. So it was just always him trying to challenge me and trying to make me compete. Even when I thought, like, as a kid, you score two touchdowns on Saturday, you feel like, oh man, like
I'm on top
I
of the
did it.
world.
I'm him.
Right.
But when I come home and my dad, like, like you could have had 100 more yards and you could have had two more touchdowns. I think that's where that like kind of underdog mentality came from. Is just like my dad pushing me to always want to be the best, and even when I think I'm the best, still try to be better than that person too. So I think that's kind of where it came from.
So I got like a twofold question with this one. So like, for some people that get that kind of a challenge, they probably
Hmm.
would say like, well, I did enough. Like,
Yeah,
when is enough gonna be enough? Like,
yeah.
I've had 200 yards this game. I had, two touchdowns. Like, when is enough gonna be enough? When was the point where you realized like those things aren't enough? When did it click for you? Because I know there was probably a point in time when you probably heard those conversations from dad and was like, well, damn, like I tried.
Yeah.
Like, when was that point where you were like, okay, I understand what he means now?
Hmm. Man, it was like, I think probably it didn't start like, I would say it didn't really start like becoming a thing of like me bringing out of myself until, I'll be honest, until I became the man in high school. So like,
Mm,
all my childhood, like I was good in football and like I knew I was good, but it was like there was some older dude I was chasing, like, oh, I wanted to be like this dude, like I want to be like him, and then I got to middle school and it was like I was still one of the best in my class, but it was some eighth grader when I was in sixth grade, they was like, oh, he the man. And then I got to high school and it was Luna and AJ Highsmith and all these guys, they went to state when I was a freshman. I'm like, okay, I gotta do that. And then by the time I was a junior, like I was known as the man in the school, but one, I still had my dad tell me like, you ain't did enough. And then two, I think kind of like so I committed to play college football really early when I was a sophomore in high school because like I was playing with them and seeing them get recruited and all that stuff. By the time I was a sophomore, like colleges had already knew my name because of Luna in his class. So once I got recruited and once I started committing to schools, now I got the dudes I'm playing against. Like let's say they tackle me or one on one they make a tackle on me. They're like, oh, you going to A&M? Like I can go to A&M too. So it was just like a competitive nature. I always been a competitor. Like you can ask Luna since I was a kid and I was hanging around with them. They all 3 years older than me. Like I'm trying to compete with them. I'm trying to beat them, even if it's just video games. A lot of my family members, they call me sore loser. So I think it's just like I would have to credit it to my dad, but I just never been okay with losing. Like still to this day, it's probably a bad thing, but when we lose games, you don't really see me too much going to the middle of the field and shake hands and be like, good game. And it's not nothing I got against the team I'm playing against or against somebody I'm playing against, but it's just I've never been like cool with losing. It has never sat right with me since I was a kid. I don't know why. I don't know if I was born like that or if it was because of my dad. But I think that to answer your question, when I stopped really needing my dad to beat it into me was when like my
mhm.
competitors started. I guess when trash talk became a thing, it just made me want to compete even more.
Yeah, definitely understand that because
Yeah,
again, you got something that you try, like you said, trying to. It seems like you always been chasing somebody, something or
yeah,
someone, right?
yeah.
It's like, and even if there's no physical person there, it's like you still chasing something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Again, growing up in Missouri City in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
Texas football is a little different.
Yeah.
It's a little different than other places around the country, playing football. How did football in Texas help shape you to get to get to where you are today?
Man, like I said, it started from when I was a kid watching my like dad love football. So literally when I'm like 4 years old, at this time, I'm gonna be honest, like I wasn't really watching the NBA like that. Like I was watching the
Mhm.
NFL or I was watching college football. And I just feel like once I kept growing up, like every person I knew, they was like, yeah, I play football. Or every kid I met, oh yeah, I play football. Like I feel like it wasn't just me, it was just a thing of like I don't know. It's weird. They say when you're from Texas, you play football. Like that's just what you do. When you're
Mhm.
born, it's like you come out the womb like I'm gonna play football. Like I feel like even all the hoopers from Texas, like that you see, at some point they played football.
Some
Maybe it
point.
was like
Right.
even little league. Maybe they played till they was in fourth grade and they quit. But they played football at some point. I feel like it was a rite of passage being from Texas. And I couldn't really answer to tell you where it came from. I literally like people watch the movie Friday Night Lights, and this is like I remember when growing up as a kid, even when football season was over, I didn't even feel right as a kid. Like I felt weird. Like I feel like, like I don't know. I love basketball.
Mhm.
Like basketball is my second favorite sport, and I played it growing up since I was probably like 7 or 8. But it just never hit like football season. Like I feel like the air was different in football season. Like
Mhm.
the sun set different in football season. Like your food might taste a little better in football season. I just feel like football season to me was just like, I don't know, it was just something. Maybe I was born like that and it was just in my blood. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you, but I think that's really a
Life.
Texas thing, you know? So,
That's definitely in the blood, bro. That's
yeah.
100% in the blood. You say like the air tastes different, the food tastes different. Like
It's
it's
funny. You remember that show? It's off now, but you remember Friday Night Tights? Remember when that show was like
yes,
popular? So like I'm
yes.
watching them little kids and like as an adult being able to watch that, I'm like, bro, like I was crazy when I was a kid to be doing that at that age. But it's just like as a kid, I wasn't even thinking about it. It was just like I didn't want to do nothing else. But like even when I was as a kid, if I wasn't at football practice or playing the game, like I was outside on the concrete, we was throwing the ball up, catching the ball. We call it hot ball. If you
Hmm.
got the ball, you hot, you getting hit. If you get close to the sidewalk, you getting smashed. You know, you getting tackled on concrete. I don't know why it was a thing, but it's just something about Texas. It's just you was just born to do that, you know?
So, Braylon, I got a question for you, bro, and I kind of want you to kind of take us through this journey. So,
Hmm.
those of us who may not be very familiar with exactly how your path was to get to the career that you are now, there were a lot of things that occurred through this process that made you identify yourself as an underdog. Somebody that may look at your accolades and see that you were the number one athlete coming out of your
Yeah,
class.
yeah, around I think in Texas I was either number one or number two, and then I think overall in the country it was like somewhere between 8, 7, 6, something like that. It was high though, yeah.
So, talk to us about the mentality shift to never let yourself, even though you were already, from the eyes of anybody that sees outside looking in, number one athlete in the state of Texas, you go to the University of Oregon. How do you keep yourself grounded to one, not let that get to your head, and two, understand like, man, this is totally different over here.
Yeah. Man, I think like I know I keep saying it, but I think it was just like I think it was really my dad, bro. Like when I was a kid, like I said, I would have games where two, three, four touchdowns, and my dad telling me I should have had five or six. And like for some reason, all throughout my life, that carry, like even now, like just this past season, I got hurt. I came back and we played. I played the last 3 games of the season. We played 2 regular season games, and then I had a playoff game. I scored 5 touchdowns in the last 3 games, and like still, I felt empty, bro. Like I feel like, dang, I could have did more. Like I'm watching the tape, like okay, I could have had 8 touchdowns in 3 games. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it was, but like to kind of answer your question, it was just I think honestly like going through elementary, middle school, you know, football was fun, and then once you get to high school, I think it's kind of when it turned like it's serious. Like you come in as a freshman, I'm watching you, I'm watching AJ, I'm watching Darius Johnson, I'm watching Philip Stewart, Colton Valencia, Kelvin Jackson. I'm watching all these guys, and in my class, like I'm like, okay, yeah, like you know, I'm probably the best player here. I'm probably the best player in the district as a freshman, but I'm seeing y'all, and I'm like, damn, like if I had to, could I go out there and score a touchdown against them? You know what I mean? So I think it was just for that part, it's just far as like not getting a big head and not like getting satisfied. I think it was just me being very aware of my surroundings and being very aware of like I ain't done enough yet. You know what I mean? I feel like it
Mm,
came from my pops of him just telling me like, listen, like even when you think you did it all, like you could do a little more. You know what I mean? Like I remember he'll have me doing 25 push-ups, and like the thing was like do 25 push-ups. Like we'd be watching an NBA game, and he'd be like every commercial do 25 push-ups. And like I'll get to 25 and he'd be like, dang, you couldn't do 27. You know, just like he was just
Yeah,
constantly
the
playing
little
with my
stuff.
mind, you know, just constantly playing with my
hmm
mind as a kid to where it was kind of like that's how I felt when I grew up. And then I think like the real to answer the other part of your question, the real like reason why today I feel like I'm an underdog after, like you said, somebody seeing the high school All-American and the rank this and the rank that is I felt like I still had people somewhere around me, whether it was classmates or whether it was teammates or whether it was friends or whether it was competitors. Like it was always little silent whispers of like he don't really deserve that. Like he not really as good as advertised, or he not really like what they say he is, or oh yeah, he signed with Oregon, but he gonna redshirt his freshman year, you know. So I went to Oregon, bro. I'm thinking like I cannot redshirt, like you know, like that's just my mentality, bro. It was literally because of my
Hmm.
dad just always playing with my mind. Like I'm way in Oregon, and I'm thinking about somebody at Hightower High School who was 2 years younger than me. That after I signed to Oregon, he gonna oh you gonna redshirt anyway. I'm at Oregon thinking about stuff like that, you know. I just was always like the person like I think when people criticize me or when they counted me out, I wasn't one of them people that like tucked my tail or like got in my feelings about it. It was like, okay, like I'm gonna
Hmm.
prove him wrong. I'm gonna prove her wrong. Like even now to this day, like I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm 31, going into my seventh season in the CFL this year, and then this will be my I think eighth or ninth season out of school pro. And still to this day, bro, I go type my name in on Twitter and like it's bad, but I skip the positive stuff, but I look at the negative stuff people say, not to like go at them or like, you know, feel like I got to say something back to them, but it's literally like, okay, I'm gonna use that as fuel. Like the next game, I'm gonna do this, or
Hmm.
next season, I'm gonna do this, you know? So I don't know where it came from and I don't know why, but like I said, that like coming up, even the high school All-American, like you just mentioned, like being ranked this high, being ranked that high, like I was the number one athlete in Texas or whatever, but overall they had me like 9 or 8 or 7 or something. So I was like, oh, it's six dudes they think better than me. Like I gotta prove to them that I'm better than these six dudes, you know? So I was just always chasing something. It really wasn't really necessary about other people. It was just from my dad kind of, you know, it's 2025. I hate to use the word groom, but my dad grooming me to never be satisfied and keep chasing, like, even if it's a ghost, just keep trying to get better. I think
Hmm.
even if I was the number one high school athlete in the world, some kind of way I ought to find to be like, oh, why they think this dude number two should be even close to me? You know, it was just always me
Right.
trying to trick my mind to never get satisfied.
I have okay. Two-part question. One, was the confidence level always there? Like even with the accolades, even with the success. I know again, playing at Hightower High School, you got a chance to play your junior and senior year, you were played quarterback, correct?
Hmm.
And during again with some very impressive stats, I
Right.
might add. Playing multiple positions, did that help you understand the game a little bit differently, making your transition into college? And did that confidence also come with that transition as well?
Can I answer that for him? And then I want you to go ahead and say it. I want to
Please.
from a personal aspect from when I seen him young. Um, never ever carried himself as a cocky, arrogant person. Not a single bit. But you put the ball in his hand, and the magician just became it went to work. I remember vividly practices where he would become our scout team quarterback or our scout team running back or our scout team slot receiver, and he would embarrass us. And I mean when I say us, including me, you know what I'm saying? And that's when I knew I was like, bro's not scared. I'm talking about you got me, you got Sean, you got Sean Lewis, you got P. Stu, you got Colton Valencia, you got Delegate. We got hard hitters that are willing to just coach let us. We gonna take no fear. No fear from a youngin. And that's when I was like, oh yeah, bro got it. It's just like when you put the shoulder pads on and you put the helmet on, it was just like kind of like Batman in his costume. It was like game time. Like it's every y'all see Bruce Wayne outside of here, but when I put this on, I'm in my domain.
And that's I'm so glad you said that. And before you answer this question, Brown, because again, pre-show we talked about Batman
Hmm.
and Batman being a big um go-to as one of your favorite favorite characters, comic book characters, right?
Hmm.
One of the things, and anybody that knows me knows I'm real big on comic books too. I read some a while ago, and it's called The Philosophy of Batman. I think I gotta find that book. But essentially, it was saying like Batman is the person, Bruce Wayne is the mask, right? And I know you've probably heard that before. Did
Mm,
you feel that same type of
that's
feeling?
hard.
It is, man. It is because for a lot of us that's us, right? A lot of us that's usually us. But when that was you on the football field, did you feel like when I put on the pads and the helmet, that's me? When I took this off, that was the mask.
Yeah, I would say it's 100%. I think, listening to Loon like explain that story and then just listening to you bring that up, it made me smile because I think like even growing up, like I swear to you, if I let you come to my like family house and like they show you videos of me as a kid, like on the football field, I always been expressive. Like I would show emotion. I would like, I wasn't really like a trash talking unless somebody started talking to me. Like even now, I don't
Mm-hmm.
really talk unless you get to talking to me. But I've always shown emotion on the football field. But then if you see me outside of football clothes, like I'm quiet. Like I'll be shot from the camera, like everything. I don't know why, but um, to kind of answer the question, I don't know. I think it was just from like, as a kid going through some of the like, traumas and stuff that I experienced of, just my parents never being married and um, other things that went on behind the scenes. I think being able to be under that helmet, under them shoulder pads, behind them thigh pads and knee pads, and I felt like it was the only time where like my people truly came together. You know what I mean? Like my
Mm.
dad was like everybody was rooting for Bralon. My mom was rooting for Bralon. Like everybody was rooting for me. And it was not necessarily that I needed praise or I needed cheer, but it was a time where I felt like, okay, like me doing this brings everybody together, So like I just felt like Luna said, like I felt like I was in my element of my domain when like the pads was on, And I think very, very early when I was growing up. So I gotta rewind a little bit to kind of give you the background of what I'm about to say. So when I first started playing football, I started playing at 5 years old. Contact. At 5 in Texas, you're supposed to play flag. My parents lied on my birth certificate and I played tackle football. So when you talked about fear and confidence, I think I don't know, like now that I'm thinking about it as a 31-year-old, I'm sitting here and I'm like, maybe my dad just knew something that I didn't because like I've always been able to channel fear into confidence. And it's to speak to the Batman thing. If people who really know Batman, like his biggest fear was
Age.
bats. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so he took his biggest fear and made it a symbol and turned it into what we know as one of the greatest heroes of all time. I won't say super because there's no power, but one of the greatest heroes of all time.
Superhero. We'll
For
talk
sure.
about it
For
in
the
the
Batman,
comments.
that was for the Batman haters that don't think he's a
Right.
superhero.
Exactly. Exactly.
So he turned like his biggest fears into something that's amazing. And I think like just being a kid, I'm 5 years old. I'm not even supposed to be out here. And I'm going against 7 years old dudes who probably 20, 30 pounds heavier than me, hitting me. And it was just like as the reps went on, I got better. As the reps went on, I got more confident. Kind of like Batman. If you know
Mm-hmm.
his story, how he started, like he wasn't the best Batman that we know in the beginning. It
Year
was
one
just
was
like
hard.
everything. Yeah, year one was hard. Just like everything. Reps. Everything took reps. So I think
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning, it was a sense of fear of, okay, I'm smaller than everybody out here. Underdog. I'm not fast as everybody out here because naturally a 7-year-old is gonna be a little more faster, a little more stronger, taller than a 5-year-old. So once I started to kind of figure it out and have a little success, it was like it was just like a thing that just it was like it almost it became an addiction, it just was like it was clicking, everything was just clicking. And I think even now, like I never really get nervous for football games. I've been playing football for so long, but like I psych myself up, like and before every game now, I psych myself up like to get scared, like not nervous, but I put fear into myself because I know the type of person I am that if I'm like even you ask my dad right now to this day, he'd be like, I always worried about him getting too comfortable because when something get too boring or too easy for me, like I'm not really interested. But when it's like when it's a little challenging or when it's a little fear there or a little uncertainty, for some reason I always been able to rise above Batman. But
Mm-hmm.
um like just I started at 5 playing against 7-year-olds, and then I would go to my grade, and then I would have to go back up. And then, like I said, when I had 2 touchdowns, my dad would say you could have had 4. So it was just always me not necessarily being scared or not necessarily not having confidence, but more so having a fear of not doing well, turning it into confidence. And I think just in a situation where you growing up as you're not always the best, I think that's what was best for me. My dad always put me in situations to where I'm not the best, even though I could be the best. Like I had the talent, but on paper, I'm not really supposed to be the best kid out here, and it helped me step
Mm-hmm.
up to actually be the best. And like Luna just said, like when I'm a freshman, playing against all these, we had about what? It was 11 of y'all that went D1 that year, Luna. And then we had a junior at the time, Sean Lewis, was the best linebacker in the country. So 12 people I'm playing against, like, obviously they the cream of the crop, and then I'm playing against them as a friend. I'm supposed to be scared in this moment, but it was just that, I guess, that fear of them not thinking I belong. It was like, okay, like I gotta show them, like I gotta show them, like I don't care if I'm only 14 years old, like they gotta respect me, It was just like a thing that I
Right.
was gonna take my respect, and I think that's kind of where the confidence came from. I just think like channeling that inner fear, like I talked about Batman, and turning into something that's great. It was just channeling that fear and turning it into confidence.
I love that, bro. Again, it's dope hearing that story because, again, being a comic book fan and you see those kind of relations and the upbringing and the resiliency. I almost want to go. I want to before we make the transition into college. I kind of want to go back to high school because you made a comment earlier when you were talking about, you made a commitment your sophomore year
Mm-hmm.
to go to A&M,
Mm-hmm.
and then we pivot right away and we
Yeah.
go to Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
I'm
assuming,
I'm willing to make this statement and put it out on the internet. Bralon was the first person that went ahead and did that flip that made the world go freaking crazy. And those A&M fans, my goodness, y'all ought to be ashamed of yourselves.
they still don't like that you made that decision to this day. We're quite removed from that time period.
Yeah.
Man, them Aggies over the top. They're like roaches. They everywhere, G. You
You
can't
about
go
to get these
nowhere.
comments cracking right now
I
because of that
go,
comment.
hey, I ain't from here. We see, you see how my fans at. But yeah, Braylon been in Chicago. But yeah, let's
Man,
talk about that. Yeah.
that was a crazy situation, Bralon. For those that don't know, like what led to the flip and what came about after.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, it's a funny story. So, my sophomore year, actually, this probably got lost in the context, or in the translation. I committed to first Oklahoma State as a sophomore. So, Luna in his class, 2009, had left, and I became a sophomore, and I started on varsity at receiver, and I was the backup quarterback. And I got all newcomer, some newcomer award or whatever. And at the time, we had Sean Lewis, who was a senior that year, and he was going to Oklahoma State. So they was coming to see him, obviously, all the time. And like I told you, every time I felt like it was something to chase, like I knew that they was coming. Like every time Sean be like, "Hey, my coach is here tonight." Like I'm like, "Okay." I gotta show out. I was taking a punt back. I was catching some crazy ball over the middle. I was doing something that's like I gotta stick out, even though I'm only 15, 16 at this time. Like I'm just like they gotta remember me. So um Sean left and they told Sean like, hey, we gonna offer him like as soon as we can. So at the end of my sophomore year, they offered me my first scholarship. It was Oklahoma State first, and then the very next offer, which this story is gonna come back into play later, was Kevin Sumlin at University of Houston. So I committed to Oklahoma State off the jump. I was a 16-year-old kid. It was my first offer. I was happy. You got to understand, I had been hanging around dudes like Luna, Colton Valencia, Sean Lewis, Della Janae, like these dudes that's already got D1 offers for years and years, or who played D1 football. I'm watching them play D1 football. So I was excited to have my first offer. Like, so I'm like, okay, I'm
Mhm.
committing. And uh after my sophomore year, like I went to basketball, like I got letters start rolling in, like, that's how colleges do it. Once they see somebody wants you, not everybody wants you. So I was getting so many letters and I was like, okay, like I settled in. And then Oklahoma State had made a couple coaching changes. So I decommitted from Oklahoma State. And then at the time, Mike Sherman was the head coach at Texas A&M. So I remember vividly, it was me, not kid, but Matthew Davis at the time. He was a quarterback at Klein Forest, and then Trey Williams. He was the like number 3 running back in the country at the time. He played at Duquesne. So Trey and Matt, like me, Trey, Matt, we all grew up playing against each other in AAU basketball and Pop Warner football. And so we had a good relationship, growing up and things. And, we always talk about like, what if we went to school together? Like Matt would be the quarterback, Trey would be the running back, I'll be one of the receivers. And after I decommitted from Oklahoma State, like it became like a thing, like, okay, because at the time they was already committed to A&M. So like I went up on a little visit with them, and Mike Sherman was the coach at the time. And, I had a girlfriend at the time, and it was close to home. It was like an hour and 20 from the house. And, it kind of had finally came true where like, me and Matt was battling each other as like the quarterback, like the guy in Houston. Like, they would talk about Bralon Addison, Matt Davis, Bralon Addison, Matt Davis, and then obviously Trey, he was just nobody could touch him in Houston at the running back position. So, but I knew at this time I was already gonna play receiver in college. So, uh, I remember vividly, we went on like all three of us went on a junior day. It happened like right after spring ball kind of ended for everybody, and I just remember me, Matt, and Trey met each other up there, and I meet Mike Sherman. I meet Nick Toth, who was my recruiter at the time in the area. But he was the linebackers coach, I think, at the time. And it's A&M. They, kind of rolling out all the stops for us. And the funny thing is, when I found out they ain't had no cheerleaders, I was just like, I don't know about that. Like I come from a school where like we got one of the loudest bands, we got some of the best cheerleaders, we got a dance team. Like, I'm like, I don't know about that. But the weekend, the weekend ended up being cool or whatever. So, when you got two of your closest homies that's like in your grade and in your class and they already committed, like you can imagine the peer pressure, like so I ended up committing to A&M. And
Without the cheerleaders.
without the cheerleaders. So they end up giving me the look past that.
Right.
They had the yell
Hey,
leaders and all that
go
out
on, go
there.
on. So I feel you, dog. They need to stop crying. Y'all did it to yourselves. Y'all ain't had no short
So
skirts. You want to go get this
should have
work, you
just had
know?
cheerleaders and would have got them.
That's not I'm gonna put it on record. That's not why I didn't go, but it was definitely like a thing, like, bro, like,
Hey, it
you know what I'm saying?
added.
I score a touchdown. I want to look to the right and see something that look good. I don't want to be looking at a dude, like, but it's whatever, but whatever.
Y'all ain't got no salt
So,
on y'all steak, dog.
you know what I'm saying?
Y'all
Come
lost
on.
them.
So I committed, and we had started this thing called the Ag Swag movement. So it was me, Trey, and Matt. We had started this thing called the Ag Swag movement. And it was gonna be it was kind of like, they had the wrecking crew back in the day, like A&M. Like we was trying to bring back A&M because obviously Texas over the last 20 or so years was like the cream of the crop. A&M had their years where they was decent, but nobody really cared about A&M at this time. So we thought we was gonna be the class to like bring A&M back. So we started getting like together, like all the high recruits that was around Texas. We was trying to get them to come to A&M. Like, don't go to UT, don't go here, don't go there. Like, come to A&M, we could build something. So this is why in the end, why it was such a big thing when I decided not to go. Because like I was one of the people that was like, come to A&M, come to A&M. So we had Thomas Johnson at the time. He ended up getting in some trouble later, but Thomas Johnson at the time, he was like one of the number one receiver, one of the top receivers in the country. He was committed to UT at first. We got him to come to A&M. We had a DB that was committed to LSU at the time. We got him to come to A&M. One of my closest friends, Corey Thompson, he played at Elkins. He was gonna go to LSU. He came to A&M. Well, we got him to commit to A&M. He ended up going to LSU, but we got him to commit to A&M. We had a top offensive lineman in the country, Mike Matthews, his little brother. He committed to A&M. So we had a lot of people that we was getting to commit to A&M and kind of join this ag swag movement. Like we had like it was a hot thing. So again, like I said, at the time, Mike Sherman was the head coach. So I'm going through my whole senior year at this time. Like I'm committed to Texas A&M. I got Texas A&M socks. I got, Texas A&M hoodies. Like I'm repping Texas A&M on the ag swag movement. And we going through this whole year as Texas A&M. Like if I wasn't playing, I go to Matt game. If Matt wasn't playing, he'll come to my game. We'll both go to Trey game. Like everybody knows, like these the three guys that's gonna bring A&M back. So A&M had a kind of subpar year that year. I think they lost in like the Meineke Carbo or something like that. I don't remember. But it was Tannehill last year. Mike Sherman gets fired. So the whole staff that I committed to got fired. Nobody ever want to talk about that at A&M. Nobody ever wants to say that the whole staff I committed to in the first place got fired. But I'm gonna tell you, this is what got me in trouble. So at the time I told y'all Kevin Sumner was my first offer at U of H. He was my first official offer, him and Oklahoma State. So I tweeted that the only way I'm staying committed to Texas A&M is if Kevin Sumlin is hired. So lo and behold, I think it took like maybe a week or two. I'm not saying it was just me, but like they knew all the recruits were saying we want to go to A&M if Kevin Sumlin is the guy. So Coach Sumlin get hired at A&M. So, you know, everybody like, all right, we got the guy y'all wanted. Like everything should be good. So I went on my official visit, me, Matt, Trey, we all went on our official visit together. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if Coach Sumlin gonna see this or if he not, but if he do, I'm finally putting it out there. The reason I didn't go to A&M is because of the conversation I had with Kevin Sumlin that day in his office. And like I told y'all, I had been kind of under the wing of Luna in his class. Like I knew all them dudes I knew about the recruiting process. I knew about how it should sound, how it should look. I'm very, like I told you, I've been watching football since I was a kid. My dad, I know how it go, you know? So I remember coming to some of the office and he got it all jazzed up, you know? He got his swag going. He got it, you know? He sit me down and my dad right here on my right side, my mom on my left side, we sitting there talking and he just kind of, you know, like they asking him what his plans are for me and things like that. And he looked us in the eye. He was like, yeah, man, like honestly, you know, we're not gonna. I wouldn't say this in front of everybody, but you know, we think Bralon Addison is the best player in Texas. Like I wouldn't say this in front of everybody, but we think he's the best. And at the time, obviously, like I'm close with Matt and Trey. They're my friends. I think I'm the best. I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm the best. I tell Matt and Trey I'm better than them, and they would tell me the same. But what number one I didn't like was I knew you was telling them that when they went in there too. You know, that was one thing I didn't like. And then the thing that really broke the straw was he said, he was like, yeah, we think you're the best player in Texas. And we know that like coming in as a freshman, like you're going to start from day one and you're going to break all kinds of records. Like we could see it happen. Now, while that sounded good to a normal 18-year-old or normal 17-year-old, however old I was at the time, I didn't like it because I told you I watch ball. Like I'm into ball. They had a guy who is a perennial All-American at my position already, Ryan Swope. You know, so to me, I just felt like he wasn't shooting straight with me, you know, and I felt like from talking to guys like Luna, talking to guys like AJ Highsmith, I had a cousin at the time, Now Davis, he played at Arkansas. So I'm very well versed in how like recruiting should go. And, you know, I know about coaches telling you what you want to hear. And then when you get on campus, everything changed, you know? So when he told me that, it just kind of raised my eyebrow like, okay, cool. Like it's cool to hear, but like that didn't make me want to go there. It didn't make me like, oh yeah, I'm coming. Like he promised me a spot. I told you, my dad raised me to like I had to fight for approval. You know what I'm saying? I was never given approval by my pops. I was never given approval. Like every coach that I've had that coached me hard, they never got back talk or they never got pouting out of me because this is how I was brought up by my dad. So fast forward a couple weeks later, I went out to Oregon. Well, actually, first I lied. Chip Kelly came down to my house in Houston, Texas, came from my living room. And at this time, it's my grandpa, me, my aunt, my dad, my mom, two of my little cousins, and I think somebody else might have been there. It was like 8 people. Chip Kelly looked all of us in our eye and said, we think Bralon Addison is one of the best players in Texas, possibly one of the best in the country. But here at Oregon, we get all the best players in the country. So if Bralon want to come to Oregon, he'll have to compete for a spot. But I can promise you he'll get a fair shot. And everything that he does from the time he arrives on campus until he leaves will be up to him. And from that day, I had never even been to Oregon. So now, we're not going to even talk about the facilities and the uniforms and all that. From that day right there, he sold me because I was like, at the end of the day, it's going to be on me. You know what I mean? So for the people that didn't know, all the A&M fans that hate me or, you know, still talk crap about me on Twitter and all that to this day, Kevin Sumlin telling me something that I didn't feel like was the truth was the reason why I really didn't go to A&M, you know? And fast forward these years, I know a lot of guys that still went to A&M. And we've heard the Johnny Manziel stories, and we've heard how, you know, a lot of people don't really kind of like how Coach Sumlin treated some people and then treated some people different. You know, I wasn't raised like that. Like I was, you know, I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I was one of the best players on every team I ever played in my life growing up. But I wasn't never treated like that. I wasn't. That's not how I was raised. Like Luna at Hightower, like he was a star. They coached the hell out of us. You know what I'm saying? Like I would never coach or raised to be treated differently from somebody just because of talent. So I think at the end of the day, I made a decision that was a 18-year-old decision based off what I felt like somebody wasn't telling me the truth. So that's the story.
I got a lot with this one.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot. I got a lot because, man, God is good. God put you in a situation at an early age, at 5 years old, to play up a level.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a confidence in playing up. Just now, this is easy. Now we just need
Yeah.
repetitions. It just makes it that much easier, right?
Right.
Going into high school, again, it's not really a big transition coming from eighth grade into high school because I've played up before. And making that transition, not really a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Going from college and making that transition from high school to college, again, I've played up. So this is not a big deal for me.
Yeah.
In every situation that you've been dealt, you've been able to play at a level higher than your counterparts. Being able to play multiple different positions from an early age into high school, I'm assuming definitely help prepare you for the landscape of an explosive offense like Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
With Oregon having as many weapons as they have and as much of a dynamic offense that they had, did you having the experience playing in all these multiple different roles kind of help you make that transition that much easier when you went to Oregon?
Man, I honestly I got to give a lot of shout out to my high school coaches, and Logan can attest to this. I feel like we didn't win state, but I feel like I played for some of as far as on a high school level, I feel like I played for some of the best coaches mentally that like a high
Mm,
school program could ever have. Like I was like very advanced when I got to Oregon, like mentally. Like even now, I play in the CFL. I played this my 7th year being up here, probably my 8th or 9th year pro period, and like I've been in NFL locker rooms, bro. I've been at Oregon. I've been in now this would be my third team in the CFL. Like I've been around a lot of football and like stuff that probably Loon can attest to this that still you see when you just turn on a tape, like certain things that you would feel like a player at this level should get.
mm,
Like some people just don't. And like my high school coaches taught me a lot of football when I was young. Like obviously I knew how to play football, but they taught me a lot of stuff about the game that like I feel like a lot of high school kids don't get to where like they go to schools and they behind. Like you hear all these things about dudes not being able to pick up the playbook. That's why he had to transfer. He couldn't get the playbook. He couldn't get the playbook. And I'm not saying that, it's not their responsibility to learn, but at the end of the day, I kind of when I hear stories like that, I look at like who coached them in high school, who taught them about football. Because
mm,
like at the end of the day, playing little league and middle school football is toss sweep right, toss sweep. Now I know nowadays it's more advanced and they be passing the ball and they probably play coverages and things. But like when we was growing up, it was 28 sweep right, 28 sweep left. Whoever got the best athletes, who was gonna win. But then
mm,
in high school, when everybody was big, strong, and fast, I feel like if you look at maybe not lone team, but if you look at my team when I was a senior, we was undersized every matchup. And like we had guys that was good, but like I just feel like our scheme was way better than everybody. And then especially like Loon and them, who they had big, fast, strong dudes, they had athletes. Loon was undersized as a linebacker, but he was smart. So I said all that to say this. I think when I arrived at Oregon, I think when you look at obviously, like I was a 4-star athlete. I was a high school All-American. Everybody was like, of course he played. But if you look at what we had before I got there, and like you spoke to what Oregon had and what they was building, like it was hard to crack that roster as a freshman. I'm not gonna lie. But the thing that I would say is like, if it's any kids that's looking at this, like there was probably some dudes that could have played as a true freshman with me that had the red shirt because they was just as good as I am, or there was probably a sophomore or a junior that he was older than me. He probably should be playing, but I played in front of him because at the end of the day, I could always make plays. But like Chip Kelly told you, or told me in my face in front of my family, we got a lot of guys that can make plays. What's gonna separate you? And when I tell you, like I walked in there, and it probably got something to do with me playing quarterback growing up too, or not growing up, but in high school too. I walked in there, I knew Marcus Mariota's job. I didn't know his job, but I knew what he was looking at. I knew what his reads should be. I knew some of what the O-line should be doing. I knew what the running backs was gonna be doing. I knew what I should be doing. And obviously I had to know what the defense was doing. Like I picked up on everything so fast just from being a quarterback. And I think I always just been a smart kid, and I've always had like I don't want to call it sixth sense, but I've always been able to pick up concepts and pick up football really easily. Like you could show me a play one time and then like not show it to me again for 4 days, and I would probably still remember 90% of it. So I think like I would have to give a lot of that credit, bro, to like the high school coaches I had at Hightower, bro. Like they was really like on us about watching tape. Like I was watching tape, and I got to Oregon, and a lot of dudes they had never had a film session in high school before. You know what I mean? They was really just going out there every week playing. Like that was mind boggling to me. You know what I mean? Like Oregon sent me an iPad when I signed, and like I'm watching tape all the time. I'm learning the offense all the time. And dudes had came to Oregon who had never had a film session. So, I gotta give that shout out to my high school coaches for sure.
Definitely. That preparation is major
You
key.
probably noticed that was definitely a Texas thing. Those guys that hadn't seen anything before, they probably weren't from Texas or anywhere in the
Yeah,
South, most likely.
for sure.
Yeah.
So, Braylon, let's talk about Oregon, man. Let's talk about. I want to go ahead and talk about some of the adversity that you had to go through, because like I had the privilege of being able to play with you and watch you play all through high school. You never suffered an injury. You were like Elastic Man. Like it didn't matter how hard it looked, he'd bounce right back up.
Yeah.
And then it was the same thing through college. And then at some point, you had that major injury.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of had almost like a series of little injuries here and there, but somehow you kept bouncing back, bro.
Yeah.
For someone that's never went through an injury before, and you've always you've always had that underdog mentality, adding that bit of like more things that you have to fight through on top of already, like, how did you keep that high mentality, that high level of motivation? Because as an undersized person, you know that the last thing the best ability is availability. And when you're not available, like that fear kind of can really jump into your heart and really start, that self-doubt can get really, really loud. How did you keep yourself grounded?
Man, it's so funny because I don't even know if you remember this long, but when I was like right before I had met you, when I was in middle school, like so you play little league football until sixth grade in Texas, and then you got to go into middle school. Well, that's how it was when we was kids. So I played little league up until sixth grade, and then you go to middle school football. My very first game of middle school football, I broke my ankle, missed the whole season. Then my second in eighth grade, my second game of the season, I broke my elbow. And I finished the game, and then after that, I didn't play the rest of the season. So it's funny how like a lot of people don't know this, bro. I almost gave up on football. Like I almost became a full-time basketball player. Like I don't know if y'all even knew this, like AJ and them. So when I walked onto High Tower campus, you remember we used to have a summer like kind of conditioning thing, and then we had tryouts.
Conditioning.
Then we had tryouts right after that, right? So I played quarterback my seventh grade and eighth grade year in middle school. I got hurt 2 years in a row. So I hadn't played football for real in 2 years. So prior to playing that, like I told you, all my life I grew up playing running back. So I was like, you know what, this quarterback thing ain't for me. Like I'm cool. Like so I went to Hightower the first day of like tryouts. I walked up into the running back line. So I'm doing all the drills, I'm doing well, but like I said, at the end of the day, we talked about the fear thing earlier. I'm low key in my brain. I got fear because the last 2 years I done tried to play football. It hasn't worked out. Basketball is the only thing over the last 2 years that I've played. And as a 12, 13-year-old, like that can stick. So I walked in the tryouts, I'm playing running back, whatever. And like at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm just doing what I know. I was doing what I did all my life up until seventh grade. So like the fear thing is there, but that like I said, that comfortability earlier and that just like being in my element, that's starting to kick in. And bro, you remember Coach Pollard? So I remember after the first day of tryouts, Coach Pollock like told me to come in his office. And uh I remember he sat me down. He was like, man, like, you came here, we thought you was a quarterback. Like, why did you get in the running back line? I was like, yeah, I don't really want to play quarterback. I want to play running back. And they was like, well, we kind of thought that you was gonna play quarterback. Like, we already got a running back for real. Like they was talking about Will Hyde at the time. So like the first day, like I kind of felt disrespected. I'm like, damn, like, okay, like cool. So the next day, I still went out as running back. And at this time, it's that competitive nature coming out of me again. And I'm cool with Will Hyde. Like we went to Lakewood together. This is my boy. But I'm like, okay, so they just gonna give him the spot. They think he better than me. Like, we gotta compete. They gotta show me, like, okay, he's better than me. He's gonna be the running back. So I go out there again, and we got the second day of trials, and I'm going crazy. I'm doing all the drills, catching all the balls, doing all this stuff. Like I'm just in my element. And at this point, they had Hallmark come and talk to me. So it's Hallmark and Pollock this time. And basically they forced me to play quarterback. So um obviously like I switched positions or whatever, and like now that fear is kicking in again because I just had two injuries back to back playing this position. I haven't really got no reps at this position. Like in middle school, they put me there because I could throw a little bit as a 12-year-old, and then like I was an athlete, so they put me there. So I got fear. And I just remember, you remember that first game I had against Ike when AJ made y'all come and watch me. So that first game against Ike, I go insane. So now it started from there, bro, because it was like I had two injuries already that, like, it's middle school, not enough people know about that, but I had an elbow surgery when I was 12 years old. I broke my ankle when I was, so no, I broke my ankle when I was 12. I had an elbow surgery when I was 13. And the very next year, not even a full calendar year, I had to come bounce back from that. So it started there. And, thank God the rest of my high school career, I never really got hurt again. And then I'm not gonna say like it went away because it didn't, but until I played 2 years at Oregon. So my freshman year I played, like I didn't have a big role, but I had made the roster or whatever. I was traveling. I scored like 3 touchdowns my freshman season. Then my sophomore year was my breakout year. And I was second team all Pac-12. And then spring ball going to my junior year, boom, the ACL meniscus happened. And bro, it's just like, at that time in 2012, like ACL was just kind of getting as like, okay, you can come back from this. Like it was still like he tore his ACL. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like all the way like it was in the 90s and 80s and the early 2000s. Because like AP had just did the little 6-month thing. Remember AP tore his and he came back in 6 months and was going insane. So it was still kind of like the only person we had ever really seen go crazy from an ACL was Adrian Peterson. So I just remember I tore my ACL. I remember like calling my dad, like I called my dad first, and like my dad hated my dad nickname was Rock when he was growing up. They say he never cried. So he hated when I cried. And I remember I called him, and I remember he answered the phone, and I was silent. And he was like, "What's wrong, man?" Like, cause I didn't say nothing. And I literally just exploded in tears. And I just remember like I thought it was over for me. I thought I was done. Like I just was like, damn, like I just tore my ACL. Like it's over, like I'm about to go back home, really. Like I'm gonna just be a student. I thought I was never gonna be the same again. And I just remember my dad like telling me like how many times you done bounced back from something, how many times you done somebody told you like, oh, like you're not gonna play running back. You're not gonna play running back. You gotta play quarterback. Or you broke your ankle, you broke your elbow, or how many times I done told you when you was a kid, like you ain't do enough. Like you done bounced back from so many things in your life already that you haven't even sat and thought about it because you upset about what's going on right now, but you been did this before. So I just remember like. Bro, I went through a very, very bad time when I tore my ACL, like mentally, like I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't going to class, bro. Like, I don't know if y'all know, but in Oregon, so I tore my ACL in the spring. In the spring at Oregon, it rained damn near every day. So I'm having to crutch around campus in the cold rain. I stopped going to class. Like I just went through a real dark time. And then like I just remember that whole year, like nobody really talked about me. Like I went from like like they was talking about like I might go first round going into my junior year. You know, like I remember spring ball, I was like going crazy. Like we had reporters there saying like, oh my God, like this Marcus Mariota last year, this possibly could be Bralon Addison last year. Like I was on Biletnikoff watch list, all this stuff. And then that whole season just being on the sideline, being hurt, like I kind of feel like everybody forgot about me. So like that underdog came out of me again, you know, like that Batman came out of me again. It was like, okay, like cool, like I ain't playing right now, like I don't have a helmet. I don't have shoulder pads. I don't have no cleats. I got to be Bruce Wayne for right now. And it's cool. Like they forget about me. And I remember going into spring ball the next season, uh, like I was kind of overweight. I'm not gonna lie. Like even my whole last year playing at Oregon, I was a little overweight. And like they had me wearing a knee brace, bro. Like I was wearing a knee brace. I was like kind of overweight. And in spring ball, like I wasn't supposed to be doing what I was doing, but because like I told you, like you said, I was in my domain, you know, like I had my stuff on, I was ready to go. Like I got this big ass knee brace on. Um, I'm fat, I'm overweight, and still I'm making plays. And I remember just one day, bro, it was like maybe it was like because I think I'm Batman for real. I remember one day it was at practice. I just told the trainer, I was like, I'm not wearing this knee brace no more. Like I refuse to wear this knee brace. I was like, if I tear my ACL again, it was just meant to happen, but I'm not wearing this knee brace. And I took the knee brace off, bro, and like I just started feeling like myself again. I was going crazy at practice. Like I was still overweight, but I was kind of limping still because I wasn't all the way healthy, but I was going crazy. And I think from that year on, because the following year I was second team All Pac-12 again. I think I got robbed. I should have been first, but I was second team All Pac-12 again, and this is off of ACL, and I'm overweight. And I think that year really like when I think look back, I think that was the year like the very pivotal moment of my life where I felt like when it comes to like football and injuries, like I can overcome anything, bro. Cause like even since then, I done tore my Achilles, brother. I done tore my meniscus again. I broke my hand. I tore my hamstring, and I keep bouncing back. And I think it was just thinking back to that year 2014, um, like that's the numbers I always remember. It's April 8th, 2014, I tore my ACL. And like I never forget that year because I thought I was done. Like I thought it was over for me. And to see me bounce back the very next year and become an all Pac-12 competitor again, like I feel like now at this when I look back at 31, it's like ever since then I just feel like it was like as long as I got a chance to put the helmet on and put the shoulder pads on, I feel like it was nothing that could stop me.
Man, that's awesome, bro. I'll I kind of want to go right after that senior year, that last year you playing.
Mm-hmm.
You remember you invited me to the draft party,
Mm-hmm.
and as we're sitting there, round one,
Mm-hmm.
round two,
Mm-hmm.
round three, 4, 5, 6. At some point, bro, I remember vividly you walking out
Yeah, I
and
left.
you left. And in my heart of hearts, bro, like my heart fell into my stomach, bro, because I felt heartbroken for you.
Mm-hmm.
How did you? What mentality did that take, bro? Because man, you just had the year. You just proved yourself that you didn't lose a step. You didn't lose anything, and to almost be like shunned, like, dang, y'all don't believe in me? Like y'all not finna give y'all picking these people before me? How did you because those are battling injuries. Now you're battling the perception of everybody else.
Right.
And you're battling the evaluation of people that basically saying, here's your dream, but we gonna keep it from you. How did you keep that motivation still going, bro?
Man, like thinking back to that day, like you almost brought me to tears, bro. Cause like I just remember vividly, like you know me, bro. Like to be honest, I never even wanted a draft party. You know,
I
like
remember.
I never even wanted a draft party, but like you know, my people thought it was important that I kind of like show love to the people who've been there for me or who even I competed against, or just like you know, y'all kind of in a sense raised me on the high tower grounds. Like I hung around y'all all the time, you know. So my people thought it was important for like everybody to share that moment with me, you know, and. It's not that I didn't want the party because I didn't want to share that moment, but you know me, I never really cared about attention like that outside of the pads in the helmet. You know, I never cared about it. So like I remember just having a party and Like, bro, in my wildest imagination, there's no way you could have told me I wasn't getting drafted, like at least the seventh round. I was like, all I need is an opportunity. So, I just remember like the first round went by, and I knew I wasn't going first round. I didn't test well. I didn't run a good 40 at the combine. I tested well, everything but the 40. And like I spoke to, I just think I was overweight. I was not fresh off of ACL, but I was, somebody that tore that ACL before, if people don't know, if you watch this, like it take like that year and a half, 2 years to be back to yourself. So I wasn't at that year and a half to 2 years point yet. You feel me? So I was still kind of like overweight. I was still like lacking a little explosion, but I had just proved again that, hey, when it comes to these lights coming on, like I'm gonna make plays, and like nobody gonna be able to stop me. Like even if you're looking at a kid that when you watched me in 2013 and you saw when I exploded on the scene, I was this weight, I was this size, I looked like this when I had the ball in my hand. And then post the ACL meniscus injury, you watching me, I'm a little bit, well, not a little bit big. I was a lot bigger. My step might have been a little bit slower, but I'm still making plays. I've never been a guy to drop the ball like that. I've always had consistent hands and I make plays. And even in big games, I made plays. I think my best games of the season that we had in 2015 was against
One of the
USC,
biggest games.
against Washington, all the biggest games. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I've proved that I could do this. And I'm at this point, I'm thinking like, okay, if any team just take a chance on me, by the time this next NFL season roll around, I'll have been 2 years removed from an ACL injury. And so I'm thinking like, I'm gonna be in a good shape. I'm gonna be back to slim. I'm gonna be back to explosive. And I just remember that day, like first round, like I slept well when the first round went by. The next day, second and third round go by, and I remember the Patriots head scout at the time, he called me. He was like, hey, man, just want to let you know, like, we love you over here. Like, at the end of the day, it's up to the big dog, Bill Belichick at the time. Like, if we take you, it's up to him. Like, everybody else loves you, though. Like, you're one of the best people we ever worked out. The tape is the tape. We had a meeting with you. You're very smart. We would love to have you in this organization. And I thought for sure, like, if it got to the 6th, 7th round, they was going to Julian Edelman me and give me a chance. Just be like, oh, we're going to bring him in the 7th round. And I knew, like, if I get a chance, like, I'm a hoop. So when the draft went by, bro, I just feel like I was crushed because, like, I was never one of the kids that, like, you hung around me, bro. You never talked about, like, you never heard me talk about, I'm going to make the NFL one day. Like, I was always where my feet were. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was always, like, when I played middle school ball, I played middle school ball. When I played high school ball, I played high school ball. When I played freshman ball, I didn't complain that I was playing freshman, even though I knew I was better than all these kids. I didn't complain. They moved me up to JV when I was a freshman, playing a level under y'all, even though in my heart I wanted to play with y'all, but I couldn't. I didn't complain. When I was in college, I think up until probably my last year, I never really said like, oh, I can't wait to go to the league. Like I was just always playing as I went. And I think that day, like the disappointment I felt was like, I felt like every level of football, I felt like I had done enough to at least get my name called. And when I didn't, it was a sense of embarrassment, but also a sense of like, I was more so I don't want to sound like kind of like people owe me something, but I felt disrespected. Like I felt like I seen guys who had the numbers I had in college. I seen guys who tested like me in college. Like to this day, if you go look at Jarvis Landry college football numbers and then you go look at his testing, this guy went second round. I'm not trying to say I'm better than Jarvis Landry, but like our game is very similar. Our numbers are very similar. And you got a guy who went second round and you got a guy who went undrafted. I was one of I think the year I left college, it was me and Christian McCaffrey was the only two dudes in the whole country who had a passing, rushing, receiving, and a return touchdown in one season. It was only me and Christian McCaffrey in that whole year, and he was still in school. So in that draft class, I was the only dude. And this dude, I think, I don't think Christian McCaffrey won the Heisman, but he was up for the Heisman. And I just felt like it was kind of like that underdog. I felt like I was never really getting the recognition I deserve by being so versatile and having rushing touchdowns, having receiving touchdowns, passing, and just being an elite player. And then to me, I felt like it showed up on draft day. So it was more so I felt disrespected. But fast forward, I signed with the Denver Broncos, bro, and like I remember just showing up there, and I think like a little bit of it, I do have to put on myself. So I didn't graduate before I left school, and I went to Oregon to where we was on the quarterly system. So the NFL has a rule that if you leave school early, you cannot participate in football activities until your school graduates. So semester schools are done in May, but quarter schools we done in June. So I was already behind the eight ball when I walked into Denver because everybody else had been at OTAs for like 2, 3 weeks. And I'm coming into OTAs late. So I'm already playing catch up. I get to Denver, I'm doing my thing, making plays, whatever. And obviously, they had just won the Super Bowl, but they had guys like Emmanuel Sanders, Demaryius Thomas, Jordan Norwood, Cody Latimer, Benny Fowler. Like, they had these type of guys. So it just, at the end of the day, there wasn't really no room for me. And I got cut from Denver, and I'm still, like you said, you asked where like that hunger came from and how did I keep going. It was just in the back of my mind. I knew like I just needed a chance. Fast forward a couple months, Chicago called me. I worked out for Chicago. They sent me back home, and then they called me back again. I worked out for them. The day I got there, bro, I remember my first practice. I kid you not. If I had his number, I'd call him right now and let him tell you. Alshon Jeffrey walked up to me after the first practice, and he said, "Bro, I don't know why you're not on the roster or why you even here, because you shouldn't be here. You should have been on the team already, but I promise you, you're going to be on the roster soon. And when you do, take advantage of the opportunity." And I remember just every day that stuck with me because I felt like I always had the notoriety. I always had the All-American. I always had the college offers. I always had, but like I said, I always looked up to y'all. My dad always challenged me. My dad always, told me I could do better. So I had really never really heard before by somebody that, not saying I like looked up to Alshon Jeffrey, but he was a vet in the league already. I had never really had nobody tell me like straight up like, yo, since like y'all and my dad tell me like, yo, you that dude. Cause all throughout Oregon, like I love my coaches to death, but they wouldn't tell me because I didn't do it their way. I wasn't the guy, like I wasn't the blue collar guy. I'm always in the front of the line. I wasn't the yell leader. You know me, like even I was a quarterback at Hightower. I really didn't talk, I wasn't that guy. So it was the first time in a long time where somebody came up to me and told me like, yo, like you that dude, you doing it. And it was a dude, it was Alshon Jeffrey at the time who was a perennial all pro. So like at that moment it was like, okay, like I knew it, but to hear from him, it was like, okay. So I got my opportunity with the Bears and I was doing well. And then just unfortunate, bro, the whole staff that I was with got fired. And like in the NFL, like when you are undrafted guy, you got to be with somebody that like you. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I go. Clear cut for anybody that's coming up. I'm telling you right now, if you go undrafted, you got to get lucky and have a coaching staff that like you. And the staff that took kind to me and took a liking to me, they got fired. And the next staff that came in, they drafted Tariq Cohen, I got cut. And I remember I sat out of football that whole year, and I just kept saying, I just need a chance. I just need a chance. And God bless me, bro. I ended up in the CFL and like kind of, I don't know if we're gonna get into that, but from there, my career just started taking off again, bro. But I think it was just like at the end of the day, what kept me going was, to be honest, the number one thing was God kept giving me opportunities, bro. Like it's a lot of times where a lot of people, I will say, wouldn't get some of the opportunities that I've gotten. Like, and I know that, like, I've been favored by God, and I don't know if I was chosen to play football, but there's been injuries where like a lot of dudes' career would have been over. And I thank God that I've had the opportunities to come back and prove myself. But that Batman and underdog mentality that I keep carrying is the reason why I'm able to continue to bounce back after these injuries or bounce back after getting cut or, you know, I'm supposed to take a pay cut for this team and they cut me and I end up on a new team. So it's just that mentality, bro, that underdog mentality that's keeping me going.
It's I I have to add to that too, because I think it's been your obedience that's also been able to give you these opportunities. You've
Mm-hmm.
been very obedient with staying consistent in your routine and staying consistent and pushing and making sure that you are moving in an upward trajectory.
Yeah.
You've always had that opportunity or someone or dad, like you said, dad, it sounds again, dad has been a massive anchor for you to
Mm-hmm.
propel you to move to where you are right now. It's, again, it's why it's so important for for the fathers out there that are listening to this podcast, is like this is the reason why you pour into your children, because you see it sticks. Like
Yeah.
these little things like this stuff sticks and it makes a massive impact on their life later on. At that moment, at 5 years old, playing against 7 year olds, all the way to being 31 and still playing at a high level right now.
Yeah.
So again, playing for the NFL and then making your transition to the CFL. I've had a buddy of mine, Pierre Walter, shout out Pierre. He played for the Kansas City Chiefs and also played arena football. One of the things me and him talked about, and I got a chance to coach with him too. Me and Coach Wash, actually both of us got a chance to coach with Coach Walters. Um, One of the things that P always said was like making that transition sometimes is not very easy for a lot of people. Like going from the NFL to anything else, which right now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe my man is heavyweight champ right now because he does MMA fighting right
Mm.
now.
Okay.
So shout out Pierre.
Yeah.
Um, but making that transition to go from what you love and what you've always done to something maybe adjacent.
Hmm.
Again, like for you, CFL, again, for all of us, again, we would die to play in the CFL, bro. Like we'd love to go and
Hmm.
continue to play football again, right?
Right.
Again, undersized, we probably wouldn't be able to play in the NFL, probably wouldn't play in the CFL, but you having that opportunity to make that transition, what did that mean to you? And was it an easy transition to make for you, or was it one of those transitions where it was like, I gotta go and now make a name for myself someplace else now?
Yeah. I'm gonna answer it in two parts. So it's funny, like I just spoke to it about like, when I was growing up, like I never really like obviously everybody knows what the NFL is, and it's like it's kind of what got me into football because it's what my dad was watching, it's what he loved.
Hmm.
Um, like as I got older, like 7, 8, 9, 10, like I honestly love college football more than NFL. At the end of the day, like I wanted to be an NFL player. I always dreamed of being an NFL, but like I didn't. It's funny how like the motivation, because it's gonna carry to my next part about the CFL. The motivation for me playing football wasn't really always to just like make the NFL. Like I always genuinely just love playing ball, bro. Like I swear to you, like I'm sure y'all had the same like running joke about black kids. Like when them street lights come on, you better be in the house.
Hmm.
Like I used to be outside all day playing football till them street lights came on. I'm talking about I would like I'm the street light, like it's starting to flicker, and I'm running home with my football, like. But I was playing against older kids, so I just always had the love for football. Like I would watch it on TV, like, and then I would go outside and try to do what I saw on TV. And like I don't even know if Luna remember this. I remember my freshman year at Hightower, when them boys was about to go off to school, we used to like meet up, like in the spring and do like little 7-on-7 before they all left, and uh one of the guys who had played at High Tower back in the day, his name was Clyde Lee. He was one of like a real great athlete. Our homie, me and Luna homie AJ threw me a ball in the back of the end zone. And I remember jumping up and grabbing it. And before I caught it, I was like, Dez Bryant. Like, I always been a football lover, bro. Like, I just always loved playing football. Like, no matter what level it was at, like, and obviously, I think the NFL, like me being so hurt about not making the NFL was because like I thought I had earned it. Like I thought what I
Yeah.
had did on the football field, I thought I proved I belonged. And even when I was in Chicago, like it was only a short amount of time and I only got a couple reps or whatever, but I felt like I looked like I belonged. And like the funny thing is thinking about like, we talked about God and like how I said I was born to play football is like it's just funny how things come full circle because I never did like really just like like I wasn't one of them kids that walked around saying like I'm gonna make the NFL one day, like obviously I like
Hmm.
if I can make the NFL I want to play for this team, but I just love playing football, so it's like I tell people a lot of times, like when I got to Oregon, I had kind of lost the love for football a little bit because it was so far from home. The weather was different. Like, I'm so used to like when football season out, like I was hanging with my friends, I was hanging with Luna, I was hanging with AJ House. Like I was used to that. Like I was used to being around my family when it wasn't football season. And it was like I was way away from home, not having that. So I like outside of football season, I had kind of lost the love a little bit. And then obviously the injuries and just, talking about how my coaches didn't really cut for me. And then I got cut from the NFL, didn't get drafted, and then I got cut. And bro, honestly, until I got to the CFL again, bro, like I like literally hated football. And then my first year in the CFL, like I found my love again. And it's so funny, like, you know, you go from playing for millions, trying to play for millions to, you know, when I was, it's a lot better now, but when I was a rookie in the CFL, 2018, so 7 years ago, the minimum, like as a rookie, you came in, you made $50,000 before taxes, like, you know, so you love football if you was playing for that. Like, it's a lot better now as for the rookies, it's a lot better, but you weren't coming over here for the money. You know what I'm saying? So, I remember my rookie year, I had the most fun I had ever had since playing high school football, bro. And I think that's why I feel like for a lot of people, it would have been, I guess, a big adjustment. Obviously, like as an adult, you need money to like live and eat and pay bills and stuff. So, like, I needed money, don't get me wrong, but when I got cut from the NFL and I sat out the whole year 2017, I didn't play for anybody. Um, I just wanted to play. Like I just literally wanted to play. And I remember getting a call in 2018. Well, 2017, it was December. It was about to be the new year. The Toronto Argonauts, they called me and they was like, yeah, man, like we heard you retire from football. And I was like, nah, like I still want to play. So they brought me out and you know, I had to try out for the team and made the team. And I end up getting cut again from Toronto and I signed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats like a week later. And like I've spent like 4 years of my career in Hamilton. And 2018 in Hamilton was the most fun I had since my senior year in high school, brother. So um like this, I feel like the CFL is always gonna be like a big part of my heart because it kind of brought my love for football back. So I think like what's weird is I think for a lot of people it would be a disappointment because like obviously like the NFL is like the glitz, the glamour, the money, like the
Right.
security, the stability for your family, like everything points to the NFL when you trying to come up and play football, you know. But I think it gave me the most important thing was my love back for football. And then like the last thing I wanted to say about it was I think, you know, you spoke about your boy, you know, having a transition to MMA and become a champion. And, you know, he played in the NFL, then he had to play arena. I think what people don't realize is like transitioning from the NFL because, you know, you got the first round, second round, third round, fourth, maybe fifth round picks. Them guys is like most of the time, 90% of them is like they the cream of the crop. But like the sixth through undrafted guys is all guys who got an opportunity to stick, you know. And then
Right.
you go to leagues like the Arena Football Leagues or you go to Arena CFL, not the trenches. The trenches is more so like NFL, like the trenches in NFL is like way different. But like the skill guys, like it's a lot of dudes in the CFL that's like one or two plays away from you seeing them catching touchdowns or deflecting a pass on Sunday, you know. So I think
Mm-hmm.
like the mentality like people get when they come from the NFL and come down to the CFL, it's a lot of guys that I've known that got cut from the NFL or like played 6 years in the NFL, then they come to the CFL and they get cut. You know what I mean? Because it's just like you know, you come up here and you think like, oh, it's easy. Like I know I'm gonna be. I play in the league. Like I know I'm gonna make
Mm-hmm.
it. And it's just like dudes. It's a lot of dudes up here that didn't make it in the NFL, but they could play football. They just didn't get an opportunity, and they come here and you get that culture shock. So, shout out to CFL, bro. Like I found my love again. And you know, you look at Chad Ochocinco. He talked about how he was surprised there was so much competition. So I think that's the real reason why guys have such a hard time transitioning from the NFL to other areas is because most of the time they have to reinvent themselves and like you know you said the guy you coach with he had to reinvent himself and now he done became a champion in MMA, you know, and not a lot of people can do that. And you know, to me that's literally the definition of him being an underdog right there, just reinventing himself and you know pursuing that greatness.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, man, shout out P. P ain't never been an underdog, but
Yeah.
he did go. That
Uh,
guy's huge, bro.
that
He's
Yeah.
dude, and
huge.
he's smaller. That's the
Yeah.
scary part. When I first
Right.
met him, I was like, who the hell is
And I play high
who
school
is this
football with this
Avenger
dude.
that's where he come from? I remember, I mean, first time I met P, I was like, this dude, like no lie, when I met him, he had just got out the league.
Hmm.
So he was lifting weights like not to play football. He just lifted. This
Just
dude
this is what I'm
arm was the
doing.
size of my torso. I was like, God dang.
Dude was massive,
He
bro.
was huge, dog. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
about 300 pounds of muscle.
No, he definitely not 300 now, man.
And
He
he
can't be
would
300
not.
in the
No,
ring
no,
now.
no. The crazy thing, he still looked big, but he ain't. Yeah, when I first met him, no, I said 300, not sloppy. I'm like, you a solid 300.
Yeah.
Crazy work.
I want to go back real quick to the CFL comment that you made and
Hmm.
making that transition because again, for a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people that don't understand the CFL look at it just like you said, like this is the NFL and this is the CFL, right? Like
Hmm.
it's a step underneath, right?
For sure.
When it's really not like that at all, like you said, like unless you're in it, you don't really understand it.
Yeah.
Was there for the young athletes that, like you said, in round five, four through undrafted, those individuals, for those individuals that don't necessarily, you know, get the longevity that they're looking for in the NFL,
Hmm.
what would you tell those individuals now having the experience you have right now in the CFL? Like, what would you tell those guys, to keep them encouraged and keep them motivated to keep that fire for their own football dreams, like you reignite it for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it. I think the word is fire. I think, in life, what I've realized is like everything is not gonna go according to your plan. You got some guys that go first round in the NFL that didn't play football till they was juniors in high school. Like um, to me, one of the best receivers of all time, Mike Evans. Like a lot of people don't know this. He was a hooper all his life. He didn't really play football like that until the end. So I think by me saying that, what I'm saying is like you never know the path and the plan that the Lord got for you or like what's in store for you. But I think if you truly love the game and if you truly love something, like don't let, I guess, one derail in your path or one thing change how you feel about what you really want to do. I think there's lots and lots of avenues. If you truly, if it's not about money, if it's not about money why you want to play ball, it's so many, and not just football, basketball, tennis, soccer. There's so many avenues to play sports if you truly love the game, and it's not just about money. Now, obviously, like I said, everybody's number one dream is to play in the NBA, MLB, MLS, NFL, and be able to support their families, have stability, and all that stuff. But if it's literally about the love for the sport, number one, you can't ever quit on yourself because you never know when your next opportunity gonna come. Number two, you always gotta believe in yourself. And then number three, I think it's just having those two together, like that belief in yourself and never quitting. Like you can find that love again in other areas that don't involve money. Like I feel like a lot of guys that play in the CFL, obviously, like, we turn free agents every year or whatever, every couple of years, and we want the most money we can get. But to play in this league, I know for sure, and I've talked to guys that play football in Japan, I've talked to guys that play football in Germany, like a lot of the people that play ball outside of those big time leagues is because, they genuinely love the sport. Like you genuinely love your craft. Like I felt like when I first started playing up here, a lot of the feelings I would get was feelings of being a kid again, making plays and
Hmm.
just like it wasn't 60,000 people in the stands like it was at Oregon or like it was in NFL. It was like, like 10, 15, maybe 20 like it was when I was a kid. So I think it's just staying humble, staying grounded, never kind of quitting on yourself and never stop believing in yourself. And I think like you'll be surprised where that might take you. And it might take you back to that ultimate goal because, you know, I had a chance to go back before COVID hit. I had a chance to go back to the NFL because I didn't let the trials and tribulations I had went through before getting to the CFL break me and make me quit or make me give up.
Now, would you go back to the NFL if the opportunity presented itself, or do
Nah,
you find your comfort level right here?
no. I think I'm comfortable where I am, and I understand the game. Like I'm 31, like they ain't calling for me no more. But I know for sure, like at this point, like bro, it was for a while when I'll say like even my first two, maybe like 1.5 years in the CFL, I couldn't even watch NFL games before. Like and like Luna, I'm in a group message with Luna, and like now I'm always texting about the league. But my first couple years, like when I was up here, I couldn't watch the NFL because I had just felt like since college, like I felt like I had been overlooked undeservingly overlooked because I made plays, a lot of them, and then I made plays when I was in the NFL, and I just feel like I didn't get my fair shot in college, and I feel like I didn't get my fair shot in the league, and it was hard for me to like really stomach watching the game, knowing like
Mm-hmm.
it was guys like I came up with that, no disrespect, but I was better than these guys all my life. Like even in college, like I had better numbers than them, but some coach liked them or like they ran this 40 or some miscellaneous reason why they stuck and played 2, 3 years, but I want to say this. Eventually, like the cream always rises to the crop, or the cream always rises to the top, as they say. Um, because I'm still playing. I'm
Yep.
31 and I just finished my 6th year, going on my 7th year, but about to be my 9th year pro, and I'm still playing. It's not in the NFL, but I'm grateful to still be playing the game I love. So I think I'm happy where I'm at. Like I still watch the NFL. I'm a avid NFL watcher now, and I love watching. I enjoy it. Like I see it myself as a fan now, but I'm still happy and blessed and love the fact that I get to keep playing ball.
So I got a question for you, Bralon. Because this part has been like full of football. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody that hears this is gonna think just Braylon's just football, 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 football.
Right.
How else does Bralon keep himself full away from football? Because the mentality, there has to be conditioning on the outside away from football that keeps you strong within this mindset. Because you're just even because Bruce Wayne is not separated from Batman. They're still the same person at the same time. They just know how to turn them on and off, right? So he still had to flourish and be good at being Bruce Wayne,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how do you keep yourself full away from being in the football field? What are the things that you do to keep this mindset going? How do you feed yourself consistently?
Yeah, I think just number one, bro, is like prayer. A lot of the things I've went through is like some people would have broke, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back or make me seem better than, anybody else, because I'm not. But I think prayer has gotten me through a lot. And I would say I'm not really like a religious dude, but I'm more of a spiritual guy. Like I believe in God, I believe in a higher power, and like I said, I know I wouldn't be still playing today at 31. And I just signed another contract if it wasn't for God. So I think prayer has gotten me through a lot, bro. And the fact of, like I said, it been so many times where you know not necessarily wanting to quit, but like I was asking why, or I should have gave up, or like I shouldn't have bounced back. So I think the number one thing would be just me like having that relationship and being able to pray and just pray through things. I think another thing is therapy. I started going to therapy after my COVID. So 2019 was my 2nd year in the CFL. I went all pro in the CFL. I signed a contract with the Minnesota Vikings, and then COVID hit. So when COVID hit, I never got a chance to go like compete to play for the Vikings. I got cut because the NFL, they made a rule where you can only have certain amount of guys in the locker room at one time. So obviously, I was one of the guys that got cut because of COVID. So after that, I started going to therapy heavy. So I kind of skipped over this, but when I tore my ACL in college, I told you I had stopped going to class. Like I almost got kicked out of Oregon. A lot of people don't know that, but I almost got kicked out of Oregon. And my head coach, he forced me to go to therapy at the time. Like he forced me. And as a minority man raised in America, like, and I'm a millennial. So I'm raised by them parents that like they ain't believe in therapy. So I was raised like not to express my emotions. So college, I hated it. I rebelled against it. I used to not go sometimes. But then after that COVID situation, uh I tried it out, bro, and like I've been going to therapy now consistently for 5 years, bro, and I feel like it's really been like a big part of my mental growth. It's changed. I think it's changed a lot of my outlook on life. It's one of the reasons why I am able to watch the NFL now and realize that, like, when I told y'all earlier, I feel like I was born to play football. I didn't say I was born to play in the NFL. And I think for a lot of my life after I got cut from the NFL, like all I would ask is why, like I said, I couldn't watch it because I was like, I should be out there. And when I was a kid, I wasn't scoring touchdowns and like, oh, like I can't wait to play in the NFL. Like I was just having fun. So I think therapy helped me realize that like I'm still doing what I was born to do, and I'm still having fun and competing, and having that Batman character come out on the weekends and being able to do that. because I'm still playing football, I'm still getting that chance. So therapy helped me realize that it's okay. And I'm thankful for that. Therapy brought me back closer to God. Um, and like a lot of other things that I do, bro, it's like, you know me, like I love video games. I'm a big video game guy. I love podcasts. I watch podcasts all the time, especially sports podcasts, movie podcasts. I'm a big movie guy. I love movies, big comic book guy. So a lot of the things I do, man, is just like, you know, I think a lot of times our identity becomes, like you said, when you put on the mask, when you put on the cape, when you put on the vest, when I put on the helmet, when I put on the shoulder pads, like for a long time that became my identity because it was what made me the most happy. It was what made me the most fulfilled. But when it got taken away from me, when I broke my arm as a kid, when I broke my ankle as a kid, when I tore my ACL in college, like it kept getting taken away from me so many times. So God could so God could help me see, like, brother, this is not all you are, you know? And so like I sit here today and I think like, damn, maybe I didn't make it to the league because that wasn't my story. That wasn't for me to be identified as some NFL guy who is got all the money and got all this. Like maybe that wasn't for me. And I think I'm happy today and I'm able to sit here and be thankful and like I'm okay with that, you know, because I'm still able to do what it is I love and not really just be identified as a football player. Cause like, you know, unless you watch the CFL and watch, you know, the Redblacks, you know me as Bralon Addison #0, but a lot of people, I walk around the street every day and you know, shake people's hands or get to talk to people now. And it's like, they don't know who I am from a can of paint, you know? So I think it just helped me find my identity outside of like, it helped me be a better Bruce Wayne, like you just said. It helped me be a better Bruce Wayne, finding out things that, you know, through prayer and through therapy and really diving into my hobbies and being able to build better friendships and, you know, be better friends to my brothers and, you know, be happy about having nieces and nephews and just a better, just person overall, bro. I think everything that I do off the field as far as like video games, movies and comics and podcasts and all that stuff, it just made me feel whole. So that when I do put on the cape and I do put on the helmet, I'm able to not take it for granted and be the best that I can be on the football field.
Man,
That's
we just posted a pod about identity.
man, that's really well said, bro. I can see it, I can sense it because I remember the rebelliousness in you and the hesitancy to like even want to talk about NFL football for that little span of time.
Yeah, bro.
You
It was
know,
tough, bro. It was like, and like I know I'm getting kind of repetitive, but like my identity, I feel like I had like so like Coach Steve talked about, like if you pull up my Wikipedia or if you look at my high school recruiting profile, you're gonna see like all American, all this, all that, all that. So like people from the outside looking in see me as that, you know. So that was another part of me being an underdog or having to like compete with living up to these things that I was doing. So I never wanted people to like, it's not that I care what people said about me because I didn't. As Bruce Wayne, you know me, Loon. I used to walk around in hoodie and slippers at school all day. I never was trying to
facts.
be the flyest guy. I never like none of that stuff. I just was when I was Bruce Wayne, I was Bruce Wayne, but I always cared about what people thought of me as the athlete. And then like as I started realizing that like that really don't matter that much, it became easier for me to be a human being. And like you said, it became easier for me to actually chop it over with my boys about Lamar Jackson or, you know, Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes because like I start seeing that that's just not who I like. That's not the only person I am. It's just some football player that got a helmet on. You know, at some point, like this all gonna end. You know, who knows how long I'm gonna play. And like I said, I'm still blessed to be playing right now, but I just had to realize that that truly wasn't the only thing that I'm good for was to score touchdowns. Because for a long time, like that's all that made me happy was just competing and being able to prove people wrong if they think like, oh, he shouldn't be an All-American or prove people right. It's like, yeah, we know he's this good. Like, you see what he's doing, you know? So I think once I got past that, it just helped me be more fulfilled and helped me be more happy.
God kept you from a lot of things that you weren't supposed to have at the time that you were presented them
Yeah.
and gave you the opportunity today to see the benefit in those things, and it's crazy, man. It's so crazy how awesome God is, man. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
keeping you away from things or providing you opportunities to experience certain things where that changes your entire perspective on everything. Like
Yeah.
you've always had from a very early age. And again, this is the first time I've got a chance to sit down and actually talk to you. Luna's talked to you for years, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just in the, in the hour 45 that we've been sitting here having this conversation, bro, like I can just tell that if we were, if we had a pickup game that we started playing today, yeah, I want to be on his team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure everybody's clamoring to be on your team because, again, that mentality that's not a common mentality for a lot of people. You see it more in athletes, right? You
Yeah.
see it in a lot in athletes because we just have that, every athlete has that dog in them.
Hmm.
How big the dog is, that's determined by the person.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, when we talk about underdog, right? A lot of people think of a small dog. Well, a lot of these small dogs that's out there right now can tear your ass up.
Yeah. For sure.
So
Yeah.
Facts.
again, man, I love the fact that, you gave us a very good perspective and a very driven, relentless assault. And that's what I'm gonna call this, man. Like this is a relentless assault on being great. And I
Yeah.
think some people, if they understood like this is what you're putting out, this is the output that you're putting out, but that's not enough. And when they start understanding like that's not enough
Yeah.
and being okay to say, I have to do more because
Yeah.
which much is given, much is what? Much is required.
Expected.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Much is expected, right? Much is required. So you taking that step and moving into these different areas, like I you don't have to give a story, but I am 100% positive right now, 100% positive. You have inspired a CFL player. You've inspired somebody in Canada. You inspired somebody in where you are today that you wouldn't have had the opportunity to do had you been still playing in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
Like he's putting you in spaces and circles so that that mentality can be spread and shared with multiple other people so that they can continue to be that person. So I think it's a reason, and we say it all the time on this pod. It's a reason why God does what He does, man.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to see it's awesome to see how He's worked in your life and
Yeah.
provided that opportunity not just for you but for everybody, right? Like I love this story, man. Definitely appreciate you coming on this pod and giving us a well-rounded perspective.
Yeah. I appreciate y'all for having me, bro. I just like last thing I wanted to say is for anybody watching this, brother, like just don't give up, don't quit. Like you said, the underdog mentality don't gotta mean that, people don't see you as this. Cause like you said, if you look up my Wikipedia, everybody gonna be like, how does he think you're an underdog? But you can make yourself an underdog by your mentality to never be satisfied. I think that was like a big thing for me. It's like I always wanted to play against the best to show them that I was the best.
Mm-hmm.
Like my two favorite athletes of all time is Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. And like if you listen to them talk, like yeah, people see them as goats and greatest of all time, but they had that underdog mentality of like relentless pursuit of like I don't care who it is, I'm about to tear him out the frame. So that's kind of what I just wanted to leave with. Is never give up that relentless pursuit of just being great, no matter if you're at the top or the bottom. Just like keep chasing it, keep trying to tear through.
Love it, man. I got last two questions for you before
Okay,
we close out. I got
for
two
sure,
questions.
for sure.
One, if you got a chance to look in the mirror and talk to your 18-year-old self,
Hmm.
what would you tell that 18-year-old from everything that you've learned and
Mhm.
experienced today? What would you tell that 18-year-old?
It's kind of two ways I want to talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
And first, I'm gonna talk about the side of still kind of like that do more thing. Um, I ain't really touch on it, but like, when I didn't get drafted, like I look back at my college career and I look back at um how it went.
Hmm.
I think a lot of times we don't. I've done it a lot now because, like I said, I've been going to therapy and I'm able to like look myself in the mirror and realize like a lot of the things that we go through in life that's negative. Sometimes we put ourselves in these positions, um,
Hmm.
whether it be not like being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like I had a coach in college that would always say like, by midnight you should be in the house. Don't nothing good happen after 12. Um, so that was just, heating to the point of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Is like sometimes, yeah, in life you really gonna get unlucky, but a lot of times I feel like we put ourselves in positions that we really shouldn't be in. So I look back at myself in college, just wish I would have. I'm not gonna say I wish I would have, because life and it's how it's supposed to be. But if I could tell my 18-year-old self, I would tell myself to do all the little things that you think don't matter. Um,
Mm.
you know, go to the hospital and see kids more. Show up to all the voluntary football workouts. Show up to your teammate. If your teammate have a barbecue at his house, show up to it. If just do things that you think don't matter, because I grew up always thinking that what you do on the football field is the most important thing in football. And what I had to learn is that it's not. Um, I had to learn that just because if a meeting start at 10 a.m., if you walk in at 9:58, you on time. You're not on time. You know what I mean? It's just a bad
Right.
look. I would
Hmm.
I would tell myself, like, as an 18-year-old, it's just the little things that you don't matter. Try to do those things, and then the things that you think you're doing great, do them a little bit better. You know what I mean? Just
Hmm.
like, if you take a note for 5 minutes, take a note for 6 minutes. If you write down 3 sentences on what the coach say, write down 4 sentences. I would just tell myself like, do all the little things a little bit better. I think my 18-year-old self. Another thing I would tell myself is, um, have grace and be grateful. I think uh, I think to coincide with what I just said, for a long time, I didn't forgive myself for, like, I would always be like, man, like, if I would have just did this, or man, if I would have just did that, like, you know, um, as far as like when I tore my ACL, I wasn't going to class. Like, I could have asked somebody for a ride, or I could have, you know, I don't know, I could have did something different, and I would beat myself up for a lot of those things when I didn't get drafted and like the NFL didn't work out, because all I thought about was like, if I only did this, if I only did that. So when I say have grace, I mean that no human being is perfect. And I think when reality set in, you think about yourself as being so big in the world, but like, you only a little piece on this earth that we walk. Like, you're not that important. You know what I mean? So in
Hmm.
the same time that you think you're so important, that every little thing you do is make or break your life or make or break somebody else's life, give yourself grace, because you're not that important. Like, the world really doesn't revolve around you. And why I say be grateful is because, yeah, I ain't make it to the NFL. It could be worse. I could not be playing football at all. It could be worse. After I tore my ACL, I could have never walked again. I tore my Achilles twice. I came back and played again. I could have never played again after that. So why I say be grateful is just, I know the old saying goes, it could always be worse, but like, I'm really a testament to that it literally could legit always be worse. And so if anybody listening to that is like, literally just always remember, like, whatever your circumstance is, even if it sucked like hell, I promise you, like, it's somebody out there who got it worse. So like, that's why I wanted to say, just, give yourself grace and be grateful.
Yeah,
Man,
man.
I put the pen up for a reason because I wrote something down as you were talking. I don't know if you could read that. It
Hmm.
said service
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 and
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 gratitude.
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 Yeah.
And that was the two words that I took away from everything that you said before you even said gratefulness, because of the things that you said that you wanted to go ahead and do, as far as like showing up to the hospital for kids and
Hmm.
showing up to those barbecues or showing up to just being around things. Because there's a different it's like a different door opens up to the world and your view when you actually do step into in being intentional with trying to be um like you said, like being being grateful that I'm an uncle or a cousin, like those roles that I'm in, actually like being in those roles. And there's so much that we pray for that if we don't take a sit back and look and be like, man, God already answered that prayer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and you've had that ability, and it's beautiful to see, bro, because the peace of mind that you receive from finally being like, God did bless me. I am blessed.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's power behind that, because now going forward, you've re-recognized your source and you've reconnected with your source. So now from this day forward, your steps will be guided and your mindset will always be strong, because you know exactly who you're connected with. And no matter what path I'm going down, I'm going to be good. Yeah. And, you know, man, it's something that our pastor talked about this past weekend. He said in Psalms, there's a reason why God talks about holding a lamp over your feet instead of giving a flashlight. Because if God gave you a flashlight, you would see everything in front of you and you would panic. Yeah. But he gives you just enough light around you so that, hey, follow this path, just keep walking.
Yeah, that's deep.
Right?
You know, because people always say be where your feet are, you know. That's deep.
And that goes right back to what you said earlier, man. And that is, your whole story is a testament of that. Because when you tore your Achilles and you thought about, man, I'm never gonna be able to walk again, you invited that feeling of God don't got me. Yeah. Bingo. Yeah. You would invite that feeling, and then of course that would consume you. But you never, ever, ever look past the light that was around your feet, even when they were injured, even when your knees were injured. Yeah. And that's just a testament to your story. So when you said God, you feel like God made you to play football, that's just part of your story for now. Right. He made you play football for now so you could talk about this. So then after this, those same characteristics are going to carry you into the next part of your life.
For sure.
Yeah, bro. I'm man, bro. I feel like I seen you grow, bro. I feel like I see you grow up, bro.
Right. Even just when you said about like talking about like never walking again, bro. It's like it's still a point of, like I said, just being the grateful thing, bro. I remember, I don't even know if you remember this. I remember after I tore my Achilles the second time, bro, and I think like I said, the COVID situation happened when I got cut from the Vikings. Like when I started going to therapy, I don't think I would have been as happy about this as I was if I never went through that. I remember the first day that I walked again, like after I tore my Achilles, bro, I was so happy. Like obviously, like I knew it was because I was trying to get to a pad to play football, but like it's just funny how like the things you take for granted and the things you don't like really see, that like you're blessed to be able to do these things. It's just so funny. So when you just said about like me being able to walk again, bro, it brought chills back to my body, because I literally remember like where I was when I took my first steps again for the first time after I tore my Achilles. So it's just, it's crazy.
The story, man. Yeah. Between you and Bram, bro, like if you don't have those two things of service and gratitude based on you guys' story, bro, you're not walking with them. You're not walking with them, bro. I appreciate you taking the time out and having this conversation with us. How can people follow you? How can people get in touch with you if they want to, follow and keep up with, what you're doing?
So Twitter, Bralon Addison 2, BRALON ADDISON, the number 2, and then Instagram, BRALON_ADDISON 2. That's my two social medias that I use the most. I'm trying to be more of an avid Facebook user. I feel like I have moved past that. Like I'm in that generation of like, we a little.
It's kind of like
past
MySpace right now, right?
You know what I mean? So I'm trying to get back to using it. Because I know like a lot of people, like I went on there, bro, and it was so like, and I felt so bad because it was so many messages that I had from people from like when I left high school that I just like never got back to, you know what I mean? It made me feel kind of bad because these are people that's just been fans of mine or supporters of mine or just literally came to a high school game one time. They're like, man, I remember you, and like, I'm happy to see you still doing your thing. So search my name up on Facebook, Bralon Addison. But yeah, on those two social media links, if you want to get into CFL football somehow, some way, I do during the season post on there and let people know we'll be playing here. You can watch us here. So yeah, man, like I said, I just wanted to I appreciate y'all for bringing me on and being able to let me talk. Like even from this talk, bro, I've learned so much from hearing just the questions y'all asked to hearing my responses to y'all responses and things like that. So I'm grateful we got to have this fellowship and be able to do that.
Man, thank you, God. That's
Yes,
what it's about, bro. That's
yes,
exactly what
sir.
it's about. We said in the very beginning of this pod, bro, is it's about affecting one person. And if we don't affect one person outside of this pod, it damn sure gonna affect somebody within the pod. So
Mhm.
I can tell you right now, just I know I can speak for Coach Luna and for Coach Wash when I say that we are extremely grateful to hear your story, to hear where you came from and where you are today and how God has kind of led you through this path and
Yeah,
kept you from things that you probably didn't need to, indulge in and let you indulge in things that you probably shouldn't have indulged in, but
yeah, for
still
sure.
gave you that opportunity to still move forward and clear and have a clear path like this. So again,
Yeah.
man, it is a blessing to have you on. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Coach Luna, you got any closing remarks after all of this?
No, man, I think I kind of already hit the nail on the head with what we just talked about before, man.
Agreed.
Just God gives you a lamp over your feet for a reason,
Yeah,
and that because that requires faith. Because
yeah,
Feeling
if you
that,
put
Luna.
if you put that flashlight in front of you, seeing all those monsters coming ahead, that person who you are at the moment wouldn't be able to go ahead and handle those things. But as
yeah,
long as you just follow the steps that you're supposed to follow, when that monster come, you're gonna be the David that needed to be there to defeat Goliath.
Man,
He didn't Goliath didn't get introduced to David when he was 4 years old. He had to go
hmm,
ahead and kill those tigers and those bears before those lions and bears before he got prepared. So by the time Goliath came, it was just like, bro,
no
yeah, ready.
problem.
this is no
Yeah,
problem. This is gonna be
Light
easy
work.
work.
It's
Don't
light
don't
work.
give me all these. Don't give me all the armor. Don't give me all these other things. Just let me do what I need to do.
yeah,
I want to add to that really quick because I think it was you, Luna, that told me this. I think we talked about this a couple months back. Um, and David being prepared, right, for Goliath. And a lot of people who, again, aren't as familiar with that particular story. Most people think that David had one rock and a slingshot, but he had multiple rocks. Why did he have multiple rocks? If he knew that God was with him and he was gonna just do his thing and it was gonna be over with. The the other rocks was not for Goliath. The other rocks was for his brothers. Just in case his brothers wanted to
Jump
get
stupid.
froggy. Right. Y'all want to get froggy, y'all get these rocks too. So
yeah,
so it ain't that I didn't have faith in what I was doing. It was
I
this is
know what
just
might
in case.
come.
Exactly. I
I'm ready
know
for
what might
whatever.
come. I'm prepared for it
Yeah,
because I've been through all these other trials. And again, Braylon, listening to your story, bro, God has prepared you, bro. He's giving you a pouch full of rocks and he's let you go through these struggles because he's prepared you already for what's to come right now. So again, man, this has been powerful.
for sure.
This has
No,
been
for sure.
powerful.
Yeah, appreciate y'all, man.
Coach Wash, I don't know if you got anything to add with this one right now.
Wayne King.
Wayne King, that's it.
That's
Wayne
it.
King.
That's it.
Again, man. Again, if you like what you heard, smack that like and subscribe button if you want to hear more from your Coach Life fam. As always, grab that merch. Some new merch coming soon. I know it's some new merch coming soon. I know you working on some stuff right now. I see you cooking, bro. I see you cooking.
Not
Just know
just
that.
wings.
It's not just wings, not just the wings. We got whole your digs coming. Can't wait. Can't wait for this new drop. Again, if you like what you heard, smack that like subscribe button. Until the next time, family. Stay positive, my friends.